to this edition of Talk with TAS. I'm your host, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. TAS. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Anissa Short. Now, Dr. Short is a strategist. She's an international best-selling author. She's the founder of The Chosen PM Group. And since 2008, she has served women and entrepreneurs through publishing, coaching, global speaking platforms. I'm pausing because she's done so much. With credentials like a PhD in administration and features on national and international stages, she is known for helping authors turn their message into movements. So welcome to Dr. Anissa Short.
Hey, Dr. TAS, thanks so much for this opportunity to be with you today.
Well, I am so glad that we're finally able to sit down because, Anissa, you have so much under your umbrella that you do. And when I think about your work, I'm like, this is what a trailblazer actually looks like. So I want us to just sort of jump right in. Now, you've been serving women and entrepreneurs since 2008. What keeps you committed to this mission after all these years?
Okay, so Dr. TAS, again, thank you for allowing me to be here today. I'm going to be honest with you. What I'm doing now feels more like a call or mandate, honestly. I can go back to being, I think I may have been 19 years of age in the college, and I was an accounting major. And I remember vividly where I was on campus when I felt like a voice said, you need to change your major to business because one day you're going to coach women and consult them. Now, that didn't make sense back in when I was in college, because the term coach really was not it was not a term we used. And if you were a consultant, you didn't really have consultants in business with like working with women. I was going to be a coach consultant with women. And I didn't know what that meant, but I did change my major to business so I could learn marketing. I began to advertise, just every aspect of the business, major. Fast forward in 1999, I was introduced to a direct sales company to be a part of it. And that was going to be my little hustle money, my little side money while working with the federal government. It was going to be the way in which I got products that I love at a discount. That was it was going to be a tax break incentive for having home-based business. That was my only motivation. But what ended up happening is I love the environment, and I ended up promoting to the top 2% in the leadership ranks, so that I became a coach and recruiter of the sales force. I was the one who I had my own team of women that spanned over multiple states. I hosted weekly workshops and weekly success. I call them success events, where we talked about business strategy and tips and tools to be successful in that respective arena. However, business tools and strategies are universal. And so it was then that my love for working with women and helping them create success, if that was $200 extra a month or $2,000 extra a month, it didn't matter to me. It could have been $20 extra a week. I just wanted to see them win. And then from working in that community inside of the Pink Bubble, which I was a part of, but then I began to connect with other women who were building businesses from home, some within direct sales, some without. And then a book. It was pressed upon me that I needed to write a book to help them with representing in the marketplace. They were excellent bakers. They were excellent seamstresses. They did a fantastic job selling their products and services, but they didn't know how to represent in the marketplace. That book led to me now, so many years later, with 12 or 13 titles, and being in a place where I still work with women and helping them create success, but from a different vantage point. So I'm on a mission, and I'm doing what God said I would be doing when He told me when I was at the age of 19.
Now, that's a lot to unpack.
It is. And that was the Cliff Notes version of the story.
But, and I'm glad that you shared that with us, because I believe that God speaks. I was trained to know that He speaks to me, and that when He speaks, there's a difference. When it's Him.
Yeah.
You have to listen to that quiet voice. And to hear you say that He spoke and said, no, not accounting, business, because you're going to need to be able to coach women.
Right.
Then fast forward, and then you're coaching women in your part-time gig.
Yeah.
And then you begin to really go up the corporate ladder in that environment.
Right.
Write a book, That
Right.
book became a foundation for work that you are now doing. But
Yes.
it all started because you listened
To the
and,
voice.
and was flexible. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we got stuff in our hand. He said, "Open your hand," but you won't open your hand.
Yeah. That's true.
So
That is
you
very
stay
true.
stuck there. But you open your hands and then fast forward. Here we are just a couple of days later, and you
Yeah.
got all these different things happening. Now,
Right.
many entrepreneurs write books because you had that one, and then you got 12 or 13 more. But many entrepreneurs, they write books before they fully understand their platform.
Right.
In your experience, how should a signature book strategically extend a leader's mission rather than compete with it?
It shouldn't compete. It's a complementary piece to what they're doing already. And that's the conversation I have when I'm working with women and men, and I get an opportunity to know them. They don't work with us from the publishing standpoint until I have a consultation with them. And I ask those thought-provoking questions. I want to know who they are, what they do, if they're a minister, if they're a career professional, if they are this or that and the third. And then the book that they're getting ready to write, I ask the question, so how is this going to complement what you do? And many times they don't even see it from their perspective. And so that's a part of the coaching that I do, even still as a hybrid publisher, the leader of a hybrid publishing company, is more to me than that we get the book complete. I want the book to be completed, and our goal is to make sure it's done in a spirit of excellence and they're pleased with the outcome. But in the process, they learn more about the publishing process and what's entailed with that, because many of my clients are novices. But I also, on many occasions, Dr. Taz, have the conversation with them about, now, how are you going to use this book to expand your platform? Because I believe that if you've been successful, if you've overcome, if you have a mandate, if you have a platform, if you're advocating for a particular cause, then the book that you write, whether it be just one or multiple, should be a complementary piece to take your message forward outside of your immediate sphere of influence and be able to be positioned to go beyond that, whether you choose to use it that way or not.
Now, you've said a lot there too, Anissa, because I just want to write a book. And I say that, but I got to say, when I was a little girl, I told Mama I'm going to write a book. I did not understand with that 8, 9-year-old mind what
Yeah.
I was saying. But when you fast forward just a couple of days now, it's like that one book, which for me is strong, it became my signature book, but it helped me to extend my
Right.
platform that I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Right.
So when you talk about coaching and that consultation, what I'm hearing is this is not about money.
Not
Yes,
really.
I'm gonna have to
I
pay
mean,
some
a transaction, trust me, a transaction occurs, right?
money,
But it's so
but
bigger than that.
yeah, this is about working with a publisher, the leader of a hybrid publishing company that wants you to understand what you're trying to bring to the market,
Right.
because
Exactly.
it's more than just a product. As you
Right.
said, how does it complement your message? How does it complement what you do on your day-to-day
Right.
job?
Right.
In other words, why are we doing this? So,
Exactly.
you know, now you've helped guide authors to bestseller status.
Yes.
What distinguishes a book that builds true authority from one that simply generates short-term visibility?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I truly believe that everyone's voice has value. So whether the book is published and it becomes an Amazon bestseller or a New York Times bestseller or not, the message is what holds the key to everything. Now, if you write the book and you publish the book and you do nothing with the book, then you stifled your own voice. So when I say your voice has value, I truly mean that, and that even when I'm conversing with my clients and the book is done. I remember one particular client, she's writing her memoir. And she was writing her memoir, and in the process of writing her memoir, and we were just about maybe 3/4 of the way done with her book, with the editing and all of that. And I asked her, I said, have you ever thought about speaking? And I knew she taught like a class at her church, that kind of thing. And I said, no, I'm not talking about at church. I'm talking about outside of the walls of the church out in the general population, with the common people, right?
Yeah.
And she says, well, I had a friend to tell me I should think about it. And I told her, I said, you should, because your book has 3 topics, 3 different targets that you could be a part of. And sure enough, we finished that book in October 2024. And by the end of December, she had 5 speaking engagements, and she sold over 600 copies of her book. So, everybody has an opportunity to take the book from point A to point Z, or point Q, or point D. You know what I'm saying? They have the opportunity to do that. But once the book is published, it's totally up to them and their willingness, as you say, to open your mind to do so. My goal is to either plant the seed or water the seed that's already been planted.
And that's so important to being a good listener too, because it's almost like when you heard God at 19, even listening then and then responding appropriately, you've taken that active listening and you are now applying it in the coaching arena, in your hybrid publishing business, to help shape the opportunities that could be out there for the authors. So your work consistently reflects education, empowerment, and encouragement. How intentional are you about shaping a manuscript around transformation rather than information? And I do understand, depending upon what the subject matter is, lends itself to more to one or the other.
Okay, that's a great question. And I will say this: once I really grasp where I am now and the work that I'm doing, for me as a woman of faith, it was important for me to understand my assignment from that perspective. So when I say your voice has value, there is a biblical connotation that goes with that. There's scripture that says you should decree a thing and it shall be established. So that means you got to be saying something. It says write the vision and make it plain. So there's the importance of writing, right? And then there's a scripture that says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So with those 3 foundational principles and the work that I do, I don't ever want to publish anything that's not going to inspire, transform, educate, or empower, because I believe that's the assignment for which I was called. So even in the books that I publish myself, they are geared towards women. Is it from an educational standpoint, because I am an entrepreneur? But then there are the books like the one I have that's going to come out next month, The Voices of the Quintessential Woman. They emphasize the importance of mentorship. And so we have women that are sharing their stories so that we can, through our life experiences, our challenges, our traumas, and our overcoming, provide nuggets to somebody else, So if it doesn't make a difference, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that there, even the book of nonfiction that I was a part of, a novel, there's an underlying message of the importance of love and forgiveness. It all has to make sense. It has to have a greater purpose than just be something to read.
And I get that, with my own writing, that there's a common theme. It seems like everything I do has that common theme. But as you said, that's understanding the purpose.
Yeah.
And once you understand your purpose and don't try to flee from it, then it's gonna just automatically just come in day-to-day living.
Right.
So, and I heard that little plug, but there's a new book coming out soon. So we heard that plug that she put out there. But so you're not just publishing books, you're building an ecosystem. How important is it for authors to think beyond the manuscript into podcasts, speaking, and then digital platforms?
I believe they should embrace all modes of medium that are available, simply because someone told me the same thing. Because the truth be told, when I wrote the first book, I wasn't planning on doing an additional book at all. And my publishing mentor, Dr. Norma McLaughlin, she told me about the speaking platform. I was like, I'm not trying to do all that. I just want to get this book done. That's the only thing I had in mind. But now through the series of time, I see how it all interconnects. It just makes sense. If you publish a book, you have to market it. And people think, you have to be on the side of the corner like the Girl Scout cookies are marketing your book. There's nothing wrong with that. But one way in which to market your book, or to market your message, is to use other platforms for which to get the word out, So maybe selling out of your trunk is okay. But if you have a speaking platform and you're participating in conferences or you even host your own event and allow the message be what people get, the book is an extension of that. And if you're invited on platforms like such as yours, your podcast, you have an opportunity to introduce yourself and your mission and your message to others. And the book then becomes a more tangible representation of that. Again, many times we're very comfortable in our immediate sphere of influence within the four walls of the building or the community for which we've established locally. But if your message is one that has value, which I believe it should go beyond your four walls. And so podcasts, speaking, all of that affords you the opportunity to go beyond that.
And I agree, Anissa. So how do you determine when someone that you're working with is ready to take their message further? How do you determine that?
Every client is different. So, there's one client, like I mentioned reference before, who was just writing her memoir. At the onset, you wouldn't think her memoir would warrant a speaking foundation, a platform. However, because she overcame childhood trauma, she overcame domestic abuse, and she's a breast cancer survivor. Those were three things in her life that then give her an opportunity, if she were to choose, to share her message beyond. And it was because she did say yes to the opportunities to share her story that the books even got sold, So that's another thing. Everybody may not be prepared for that, but trust and believe. I plant the seed, because if you're going to write the book is a product and the book is a service. And the only way people can benefit from your product and service is if you promote. And the way is in which you do so have to be done through other mediums. It can't just be the book in and of itself. So I encourage everyone, even with our Conversations with Chosen Pen podcast, anyone who publishes with us, we automatically schedule them to be featured on our podcast, if nothing else, and in our Voices magazine. So those are two ways that we assist them from out of the gate. But then I emphasize other things that they can do after the fact.
Well, we've been talking about faith this whole conversation. So as a certified Christian life coach operating in the business arena, how do you guide leaders who want their values reflected in their brand without narrowing their reach?
Well, here's the thing I believe. Now, everyone may not agree with me in this respect, but if the foundational principles that are found in the Bible as a Christian are important to me and I choose to live by them, I can convey them without quoting the scripture. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in a community of professionals, business professionals, we're not doing Bible study, in a corporate setting, or maybe even in a business retreat, but I still can convey those principles I still can get the message across. That's the importance of diversity and being able to bounce back and forth. And because I was in the business sector, I know the do's and don'ts, but I still can convey those same principles without saying 1 Timothy 3:6, this kind of thing. Yes. So I emphasize that even with my clients. It comes up with my clients. Everyone's not interested in a speaking platform. And if they're not open to it, I don't push. I honestly don't. I plant the seed, maybe it'll be watered later, but for those who embrace it, it's usually they're already working in some vantage point. Like one of my clients teaches a Bible study, and she was a part of an anthology with me, and we gave the information as to how the direction of the anthology. And so she sent her manuscript to me, and I read through it, and I sent it back to her. I said, "You're not teaching Bible study, you're telling a story." And she was like, "Well, what's wrong?" I said, "You have too many scriptures in here. I'm not saying the scriptures aren't important, but I need you to practice telling the story without quoting the scripture, because everyone who reads my book is not a believer. But I believe that if they read the story, they still can be impacted, because God's word can't be watered down. But you have to find another way to communicate it." So it's a little bit of both. It just depends on the client. It depends on the content of their book. Some people do devotionals. We already know that's geared to the Christian community, So that's a given, but other things can be done in a way that can be open or relevant to both.
And I agree with that. And I like what, so you're not teaching Bible study. How did you take that? Because I know some people, they wouldn't have taken that.
She laughed. I said, "We're not teaching Bible study. This is wonderful, but you're not teaching Bible study. We're telling a story." And so I need you to. So my assignment to you is to consider what you have and go back and revamp it without having to put all these scriptures in it. And she received it. She received my instructions. She did. She said, "I get it, Anissa." I said, "Now I'm not saying what you haven't written is good, but this is not a Bible study class. This is a book. It is not a Bible study book. It's
That's not a Bible study book, so therefore it's not appropriate."
Right.
But we chuckle because the writing process is a pull and a tug.
It is.
Sometimes you pull it and tug it with yourself because you love this sentence. You love this picture. It's got to have it. Is it appropriate for this book?
Right. Right.
No. So, but that leads me to, some authors chase being a bestseller, while others look at building lasting momentum or movements. Right. What mindset shift must entrepreneurs make if they want to build a legacy instead of hype?
Oh, that's a good question, Dr. TAS. I'm all about the hype and that I'm an excited person. I like the enthusiasm. I like spaces. I really believe that you must be in a positive space to create success. So the hype in and of itself, if you look at it from being enthusiastic and optimistic, your perspective is everything. So you're not going to be humdrum and convince me that you're excited about what you're doing. So there needs to be an element of that. But at this point in time, Dr. TAS, one of the things I believe is that everything we do should be about legacy. And many times people tie legacy to the fact that they have children or grandchildren. They said, that's my legacy. And it is. Mm-hmm. But the fingerprint or the footprint that you leave in the lives of others is really, truly your legacy. The life that you live and the impact you make. So I don't have biological children. So on the surface, you would think, well, what's going to be her legacy? Each and every one of these books that I publish personally is my part of my legacy, because you will know I was here because I got books to prove it, right? And then because I have worked with others to help them get their message out, because of the work that I do in serving others, I'm leaving a legacy, And then as a result, Dr. TAS, because of the work that I've done with others and the fact that I choose to serve the way in which I do, they send people to me to publish books. Yes. So I don't even have to do any. I just moved to where I am, and I've already got 3 or 4 contacts with people wanting to publish books because of referrals from other people. So I just believe if you do things it's not about hype. It's not about being seen. It's about truly serving. Not only will you attain a success, but you will make a lasting impact.
I got to be the amen corner with that one and say, yes, forget the hype. We do need the hype the way you defined it, for the enthusiasm and excitement. Right. Nobody wants a humdrum person. Right. But hype as in that being excited by that shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, no. Right. No.
But the legacy, because your legacy and your gifts are making room for you. Absolutely. And you just given a good example of that. You just moved and got 3 was it 3 or 5 referrals?
I got 5 referrals since I've been here. Right? And then it was nominated to be a Mississippi Success honoree in the state. And I just moved here. I was like, where did this come from? I just got here, You see? Right.
But that goes back to, again, because I don't want folks to forget it, hearing that voice at 19 and being obedient. Yeah. And he continued, and I can do this on my podcast, and he continued to craft a path for you. And when we look back on it, we can see.
I see
you
it.
can see it clearly.
Yeah,
I do. Bless somebody, because I got to always be blessing people, because this is my
it's so true, Dr. TAS, because it started with that decision. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing though, even before I started in the entrepreneurial arena with that direct sales company, I was training and mentoring people on my traditional job. I was always selected to train new hires. And then I went so far as representing the agency I worked with a federal agency for 12 years, but I trained locally in my local office. I trained statewide, and I even represented regionally, So the things that I'm doing now, I did then. I'm just in a different industry.
And I think that's a great segue for our conversation about, because, you're the leader of a hybrid publishing model. So, with hybrid publishing models rising and digital media is expanding rapidly, it's expanding as I'm blinking my eye.
Right.
What should serious authors be preparing for over the next 5 years?
They should prepare to not only write the book, but to have the book available in different formats, whether they be a paperback, ebook, and audiobook. Definitely audio. Okay. They need to prepare to use that book in a way that allows them to go beyond their immediate sphere of influence, because you're not called to your mama, dad, and all your cousins and aunties and uncles. Your message is usually for someone that you don't even know. So in order to make sure that that community who needs and are praying for the words that are in your book, that you partner with other organizations and podcasters and things of that nature, open your mind and heart up to being a speaker outside of what you're already doing. Because for example, if you're a minister, you're ministering to the people in your local congregation and maybe the churches that you fellowship with. Well, your message is for more than just those folk. So you must be open, and sometimes even be open to the fact that we are called to the world, not just to the church families. So can your message be tailored to fit everybody? Mm-hmm. So I think they need to do that. They need to get their professional headshots done. They need to get their bios done professionally. We don't need any more cropped out pictures and pictures that look a hot mess. We want to come out and represent with excellence. We know if we need to hire a speaking coach, hire one, or barter your services, whatever you need to do to get the assistance. And then to find a community of people, find you some people like Dr. TAS. So you can hang around and that you all share common values and that you push each other. You need people like that in your space as well.
Well, Dr. Short, now you've laid out a real action plan. Now, I'm not even normally I would go back through it, and I can go back through it, but I'm not. I want them to listen to it and get it in their spirit, in their mind, because you've laid out an action plan for someone to position themselves to be ready for what's going to be occurring over the next 5 years. Right. In the next 5 years, guys, I'm popping my finger because it goes so quickly.
It goes so quickly, right?
So we have to really be ahead of it. And we've heard it from a futurist here who already is a hybrid publishing leader. So again, pay close attention to this conversation, because this conversation dropped a lot of gems. And as I said, when you look back, you can see how everything unfolded.
Everything fell into place. And I have to give credit to where I am now, not only to me being open to listening and making the pivots and the shifts even when it was scary, but also to being receptive to people like Dr. Norma McLaughlin, who was placed in my life. And then, of course, we have Cyrus Webb in common, to be listening to people and following people. And even if you couldn't hire them for their services, you know how to copy the right cat, so yes. To see what they're doing and follow in their footsteps. So I am where I am today, because by the grace of God, he ordered my steps, and I was open and listened and was receptive to the advice and the guidance that others gave me. So mentorship is very much a key of why I'm here today. And so I owe it to pass it on.
Well, mentorship is key, and copying the right cat is also important. So how can folks stay in touch with you so they can keep copying the right cat if they can't get the mentorship right now?
Okay, that sounds good. So if they want to follow the Chosen Pen group, they can simply go to our website, CHOSEN, pen, as in an ink pen, PEN group.com. And if they can send us a message through the website if they want more information. That's through the website. But if they want to connect with me on social media, I am Dr. Anissa Short on Facebook, and I am Dr. Anissa Short on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, Dr. Anissa Short has been my guest today on Talk with TAS. I have enjoyed our time together. And let me go ahead and put this out there, because I want to be futurist too. I know you're going to be coming back to share what you got going on. So the audience is going to welcome you back whenever you're ready. And to my audience, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And you know the drill. Before you go try to take care of someone else, please make